Well, welcome to News Unboringed. Of course, this is going to be mostly devoted to the budget, because of course it is, by Jeremy Hunt. This isn't impartial, sorry to the BBC. We are going to criticise, but yeah, we're going to go through the key points basically and talk about them basically. Sorry that we're a day late, but got a lot of things going on personally, but you know, I'm not going to get into that because I have a life. I don't need to share everything with you guys, because some people do overshare and put their entire lives on social media, and it's just not a safe, healthy thing to do. In other news, let's get to it. So these are the key points that I want to make here. Support with energy bills will continue for another 3 months. Sorry if this episode does sort of seem a bit boring. I'll try to make it unboring as much as possible, but you know, we'll see what we can do. Support with energy bills will continue for another 3 months in England, Wales and Scotland, reversing a plan to make it less generous. Under the energy price guarantee, the government has been limiting energy bills for a typical household to £2,500 a year, plus a £400 winter discount. The guarantee will continue at the same level until July, by which time the price of energy should have dropped sufficiently for it to become redundant. Which doesn't mean it's impossible to pay more than £2,500 a year for your gas and electricity, as that is the marker for a home using a typical amount of energy. More energy you move, more energy you use, and the worse the insulating is in your home, it may be more, and obviously vice versa. Typically, however, household bills are still double the level they were during the winter of 2021-22, and prepayment meter customers will have to pay the same rate, but those who pay quarterly by cash or cheque will still have to pay more. Critics say the £3 billion extra help will cost the government. Critics say the £3 billion extra, it will cost the government. That doesn't make grammatical sense. Critics say the £3 billion extra help will cost the government to continue the sport. Basically, it would just be better for the poorer to get it, instead of it being given as a baseline to everyone. The £400 winter discount will end, with no plans to repeat it next winter. Energy is regulated separately in Northern Ireland, where bills will be held at £1,950 a year for an average household. But I don't think anyone lives in Northern Ireland, so we're going to move on. Working parents with 3 and 4-year-olds are eligible for 30 hours of free childcare per week during term time, which will be extended to cover younger children in England when both parents are working. An equivalent funding will be given to the authorities in the other 3 nations of the UK. The rising cost of childcare has been considered to be a deterrent for parents to go back to work or work full time, but there are questions over whether the policy will actually mean parents doing more hours, and whether there are room for children to get it in our nurseries, which as a result will make it a staged reduction, with 15 free hours of childcare for 2-year-olds in April 2024 and in September 2024 for all of those aged over 9 months, and 30 hours for all from September 2025. And families on universal credit, a benefit paid to those on low incomes who may or may not be in work, will receive childcare up front instead of having to claim it back, which makes it a lot easier, I presume. Because it sounds less complicated, and usually it means it's easier, because you get what's on the tin with some things, and I think this might be one of them. The maximum amount of people on universal credit can claim for childcare is also going up to £951 for one child, having been frozen at £646 a month per child for several years, and it will be £1,630 for 2 children. And there's also funding for before and after school care. Yada yada yada. The tax-free limit for pension savings during a lifetime will be abolished in April. At present, you can save just over £1 million before an extra tax charge is levied, which basically helps the rich, which isn't a very good thing in a cost of living crisis that the poor is suffering the most from, isn't it? It's not a very good look, but that's just what the Conservatives do. you get what you vote in, I suppose. Let's just hope we don't vote them in next time. But yeah, it's a stupid thing to do in a cost of living crisis in my eyes. In other news, the annual allowance will remain in place but will go up from 40k to 60k after being frozen for 9 years. Those who are already drawing a pension but want to save will be able to put in 10 grand a year, up from £4,000 a year. That is a policy directed primarily at keeping doctors and consultants working in a stretched NHS instead of retiring early, because the NHS is in a crisis and it needs all the help that it needs. However, helps the rich and public servants who have been in their roles for a long time. So yeah, benefits the rich basically, because that's what Conservatives do. Obviously, rising prices have been a huge problem for many. However, the OBR now expects the inflation rate, which charts the rising cost of living, to drop to 2.9% by the end of the year, having peaked at over 11%. The target is 2%. Prices will still rise in shops, but not as fast as they have been, which isn't to say there won't be painful price increases to come. So, yeah, it's not something you can take at face value. The cost of living crisis is nowhere near over. But, yeah. For example, there'll be large increases to broadband and mobile bills for millions in April, and many homeowners will now face higher mortgage demands. Disposable income per person will fall by 6% this financial year, and the next, according to the OBR, represented the largest 2-year fall in living standards ever recorded, which could result people dipping into their savings. And they're going to fully overhaul disability benefits. At present, people with disabilities have to fulfill a work capability assessment to test which work-related responsibilities need to be kept to receive benefits in full, which will be abolished. Benefits entitlement will be separated from an individual's ability to work as part of a planned overhaul of the system. In future, there will only be one health and disability assessment, the PIP assessment. 2 million job seekers on universal credit could face more rigorous sanctions. When I talk for too long, too far sometimes, I am trying to get over this quite quickly so it's less of a bore, because the quicker it's done, the less of a bore it becomes. Yeah. But yeah, 2 million job seekers on universal credit could face more rigorous sanctions if they don't take the work the government considers appropriate. A bit unsympathetic, isn't it? Because despite how many job vacancies there are, people still find it hard because they don't. A lot of the things are technological. Not everyone. A lot of the vacancies are technological or require technology in some way, and people, don't always go into that. And also, it's just not easy to apply for a job. And fuel duty is frozen again, a tax motorists pay when buying fuels such as petrol and diesel. A schedule rise would have led to a 12% per litre rise across petrol and diesel prices. But it's been frozen again, and a 5p cut will continue for another year, which will cost the Treasury around £6 billion. The duty on alcohol will rise at the start of August, where a new system for calculating taxes on alcohol will be introduced, which will mean there'll be a better deal for draw beer in pubs. Cost of pints will go down, and I think everyone who's of legal age, of course, and some who are not, will welcome that right all F-wing, because in Britain, people love a bloody pint. However, the cost of an average pack of 20 ciggies will increase to £14.39. Hang on for a second. All right, sorry about that. I was just talking to someone. And yeah, just a final thing. Some of the biggest decisions affecting finances in April and beyond have already been made. It was in November's autumn statement that Mr. Hunt would say benefits in the state pension would rise in April by 10.1%, and there would also be further cost of living payments delivered to the current year. And really importantly, income tax bands or thresholds are already frozen until 2028, which means any kind of pay rise could drag you into a higher tax bracket. And even if it doesn't, it would almost certainly mean a greater proportion of your income is taxed. You start to pay income tax on annual earnings of more than 12,570, charged at 20%, then 40% over just over 50k, and yeah, bands are different in Scotland. And another announcement made in the last big statement is that the highest rate of income tax, which is currently 45%, currently on earnings above 150k, will be paid on earnings of more than £125,140 from April, which means the highest paid could pay hundreds of pounds more a year in income tax. And it was previously announced that the minimum pay rate for those aged 23 and above, 23 and above, the national living range will rise from £10.42 in April from £9.50 an hour, which affects around 2 million people, and it's employers who must shoulder this cost. A host of wage disputes in the public sectors. In terms of strikes, the budget day was also the largest day of strikes, with rail, junior doctors, teachers, and all sorts striking, as they believe they aren't getting the pay they deserve. And there you go. And breathe. And, well, of course, it wasn't well received by Labour, as they see it as an insane lack of ambition, especially given they were celebrating that they would not enter a technical recession and would only slightly stagnate. The economy is expected to go down by 0.6%, even though we're still the lowest of the G7. Not very high standards, and yeah, they were blasted for their lack of ambition and for helping the rich in a cost of living crisis by Sir Keir Starmer. So yeah, there you go. And I've watched some programs, and yeah, it's not really gone down well, to be honest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week with hopefully a less jam-packed show. And if you didn't watch it and you need a bit more certainty and clarification, Martin Lewis had a show today. I think it was today. And you might want to watch that if you need more clarification. Thanks. See ya. Keep it unboringed. Don't sue me, Piers. Cheers. I get a cheaper pint on you. Well, on me, soz.